What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special live event. I have with me tonight Sean Ashmore, who I'm sure many of you are very familiar with. How are you doing, Sean?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for being on with me tonight. This is really cool, man. I really appreciate
Well,
it.
I feel the same way. When you reached out and were like, "Hey, do you maybe want to do a live?" I think I got back to you in like 30 seconds. I was like, "Yep, let's do this."
I'm
Um,
so pumped, man. I
yeah.
watched I watched your thing with Urban EDC Supply. I just sat and watched. I didn't catch it live, but I realized because it was recommended to me on Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna sit down and watch this whole thing right now, and it was so cool. Like I was
Oh,
like
good, man.
I was like I wonder if he has time to hang out with me. So I was really happy that you wanted to hang out for sure. So
Yeah. Well, as I was saying before, and I'm sure everybody on the stream feels the same way. It's like we need our daily metal complex fix. So I was telling you earlier that like every day when I'm in my office and I'm either typing or doing emails or whatever, I have YouTube up in the background, and I'm so thankful that you do so many videos because I'm like, all right, I can have this on. I can learn about the newest blade, the newest steel, the newest thing that I know nothing about, and I can get a good recommendation for my next obsession. So thanks, man. It cost me a lot
I,
of
I
money.
I'm so that's the common theme. I'm trying to get my thing set up here so I can actually watch us live at the same time. But that it's funny, I hear that a lot. People are always like, thank you. And then, it's like a high five, but then there's just another haymaker that comes around. It's like, you also cost me a lot of money. So
Yeah, yeah, but it's a good
I
thing, you know. I mean, we have to control ourselves, but it's always
oh
nice
yeah.
to know what the newest stuff is, and I guess in a certain way, um, you do kind of save us money because I guess the knife world it's kind of hard because unless you're going to shows and you're actually handling stuff, you sometimes don't know, right? It looks good and it looks interesting, but sometimes it's like, watching your channel or other reviewers is like you get a better idea of the proportions or the action or just you just get a better vibe for a knife than just like a picture on Instagram or something on a website. So I've
Man,
definitely been enticed to look at certain knives that maybe I wouldn't have because of your stuff. And also I'm like, maybe that's not for me. Maybe that's not quite what I thought it was going to be. So it's good to have that.
I'm so flattered that you said that because that is one of the most difficult things. I'm sure you can see me struggle with it because I'm really trying to tell people like there's a certain feel with this or there's this certain sort of essence with the knife that is very difficult to it doesn't translate perfectly when you're watching it from a phone. So I do my best to describe that and explain this feels different than this or versus this competition. So it's cool that translates a little bit and that you're able to make some decisions off of that because
Oh
man, like
yeah.
that's a big part of that's what's so hard about reviewing this stuff tabletop is you want people to pick up stuff that is actually good, but you want to be able to explain why it's good like through a rectangle basically.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah. I
tricky.
imagine it is really hard, and the other thing that I like about the way that you talk about knives is, I can always tell when you're super excited about something, and I want to talk about a few of those things in a second because I
Okay.
am too. So this is perfect. Um, but they're also I do feel like you give stuff a fair shot, even if it's not for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're not just like, I don't like this knife. It's not something I would carry, so it sucks. It's like I always know that you're like, this is a great knife for somebody. It's just not a great knife for me. Someone just said Chris Pratt and Sean Ashmore talking knives, and I get it. Do you get that very? Do you get that very often? That's awesome.
Oh man.
We
That's
got
uh
Star
that's
Lord
great.
and Iceman in the house here.
Yes. Definitely. That's great. Oh man. I had like this stream of like I was ready to, add on to that and you really it was just like it was like playing ping pong and you're not expecting that slap return there. But I that's really cool, man. I'm flattered that you like to watch my channel. That's just great. What was really fun for me is and hey, by the way, guys, real quick, this is a giveaway live stream, the same thing that I usually do. I'm later on. I'm going to be giving away two knives. We're going to do the mystery pouch thing. So there is absolutely a link in the description. I know I don't have my usual how to enter, super technologically advanced metal complex live stream, cards up, but there is a link in the description. You click on it, says how to enter or enter here, and you can enter to win. This is live participation tonight, so we're gonna draw for some knives later. But anyways, to get back, I love a good knife origin story, and
Mm.
listening to your, and I'm gonna let I want everybody here to hear your story, but how people get into knives, everybody's story is so different, but then again, it's so much the same thing, and I feel like everybody who's into knives loves to hear another, that first time that it clicks, that first time that it goes from just being like oh, it's a knife, to, you know what, I think I'm into this like on another level. Like I think I'm actually interested more. And listening to that when you were talking with Matt from Urban EDC Supply was really cool. So if you don't mind, I'd actually like to hear how you
Yeah,
got into knives initially.
yeah. So, I mean, originally, as a kid, I always had a pocket knife. So I had a Swiss Army knife, I had a buck knife. Now that I have a kid, I'm like, what were my parents thinking? Like, I was like 9 maybe, and I had a Swiss Army knife, and but my brother, I have a twin brother, and he and I were both pretty responsible. So, we'd go camping, and we had BB guns and pocket knives and all that kind of stuff. So, we were into that. That's kind of where it originated for me. I've just always had like a knife as a tool and had it around. But when I really got into collecting and really got into being interested in knives on another level, I was doing this TV show called The Following, that was on Fox, and I played an FBI agent, and we were hunting serial killers. So I always had gear. I had a firearm, I had a flashlight for whatever scene we were doing. Okay, we're going to be kicking a door down, and you need a flashlight, you need your gun. And then there was one particular scene where I was like jimmying a lock open, and our props master handed me a Microtech Ultratech, and I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "What?" Like, I didn't know it was just this rectangle with a button, and I was like, I didn't know what it was. I was like, "What do I do?" And he's like, "Oh, you just hit the button," and it was like, "Thump." And then I was like, "Whoa!" And then he's like, "Yeah, and to retract it, you just hit it back again." And I was like, it felt like magic. Like I just was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." I know it's just two springs, but this is awesome. And that was it. I asked them if I could take it home, and they were like, "No." They're like, "It's a switchblade up front. It's highly illegal in New York. You can't just take this home. I can't give this to you. But this is the company name. You should check them out." And that's when I started like going onto YouTube and looking up knives and reviews and videos, and that's how I found my way in. And
Cool.
I think Nick Shabazz was the first channel I found, and he cracked me up. So I was like this like strange dude that's like super into knives and gear, and the first nice knife that I ever bought was a Microtech SOCOM Delta, which I still
Okay.
have. And I deliberated. It seemed so expensive, it was like over $300 or something, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I should spend that much money on a knife." So I looked at all the reviews. I like checked out all the websites. I waited for a sale, and that was kind of the first knife that I bought that was special, and I still have that. I ruined it by taking it to a knife sharpener at a flea market, at a farmer's market, so I'm still a little sore about that. But that's how I got into it.
Man, the crazy thing, and I remember hearing you tell that to Matt. The crazy thing is, what a way to enter, like to just go from thinking pocket knives are. I mean, it's because they are. I mean, they're tools, like But as far as that goes, for most people, is these are tools, and yeah, it's neat, and you can cut stuff, and then that's like the limitation of it. But like for me, it was the Kershaw Blur, which was just a
Mm,
little bit. There was a little bit extra there, but you went from, it was like going 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. You handled that Ultra Tech, and you were like, "What kind of black magic is this? This
that's
is wild." I could only imagine. The first time I
like
experienced an
I
OTF.
hadn't had like a spring loaded or automatic knife or anything. Like I just hadn't, I was like a pulling out the Swiss Army
Yeah,
blade or a little buck knife with that was it. And then all of a sudden, and that's the other thing too that I think is so amazing was even just the design and the engineering. It wasn't just like, okay, this is a tool and I'm going to open packages with it and break down boxes because that's all I do. That's all we all do.
sure.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
like, and I started like a side account for my knives and gear because there were so many people on my Instagram account that were like, "Do you need more knives? Like, do I need to worry about you?" I'm like, I just have a collection. Like, all I do is break down boxes. Like that's it. And I know that everybody at like if you're using scissors or a steak knife, it's like just have something that looks cool and feels cool. Like that's all I'm doing with
Right.
it. Um, but
Oh
yeah,
man.
I started to look at like the different makers, the different materials, the all the different style, and I said this when I was talking to the Urban EDC guys too with Matt. And I don't know how many people like to admit it, but I certainly do. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what am I going to carry today? Like, well, what am I wearing? I got black jeans on. Oh, carbon fiber would look cool. Like, there is a certain element for me, anyways, and I can only speak for me, but I feel like it's for a lot more people than will admit it. Like, you're sort of accessorizing. Like, hey,
Definitely.
I want my tie today. I want a pop, like something with color, like something with a crazy scale, or I mean, I know you collect all sorts of like
Oh
wild and
yeah.
crazy, like the Zerkatai, like all that stuff. And it's like you might not carry that all the time, but when you do, it's because you want it to show off
Exactly.
a little bit. You want it to pop, and you want it to be special. And
That
so
is so
I fully admit
that's
that.
so accurate. That's when I like, man, that's the mark of like a true knife nut. When you have entered, you've intentionally crossed the event horizon.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
you
Yeah. This I'm
you've
in the
accepted
singularity.
like,
I can't get out. I'm stuck.
oh no, yeah, exactly. But you, when you start doing that, and that is absolutely something that that everybody does. You know, even the hardcore like knives are tools, and I don't appreciate any elements beyond functional utility. All those guys, even those guys are like, maybe I'm feeling the blue one today. Maybe that's the extent of like, the
Yeah.
diversity in their knife cabinet, but they're
Yeah.
still doing that. That's that element that grabs you and that pulls you in, that makes you appreciate more than just the function of it. And as soon as you are aware of that, that it's a seed that's planted and it just grows like crazy. And
Yeah.
for you to start off with the Ultratech, not only did you, because listen, most people are blown away by a Lightning OTF. Have you ever handled it? It's just like a cheapie, like a $30
Yeah.
OTF. And
Yeah.
most people are blown away by that. But an Ultratech has a very distinct, high quality action. And it's
Oh
one of
yeah.
the most flagship, like as soon as people figure out these double action OTFs exist, somebody eventually will point them in the direction of Microtech. And the first time they handle an Ultratech, it's just like this. It's just you in a dark room with a golden beam of light, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is amazing. It's super.
Well,
So you were
that's what
just
it felt like.
blasted in.
I've never asked a props person ever to keep a prop on a show or anything like that, ever before or since probably. But that I was like, I can I have this? Like, you guys don't need this, right?
I
And
love
again,
that.
they were like, absolutely not. You can't have that. Okay, so I want to bring up a brand and I want to bring up a couple knives because I specifically found this company because of you, and it's become one of my favorite, and that's Kunwu.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Yes, yes.
so your enthusiasm when you're reviewing, mm, I think maybe it was the Padre with the first kind of review that I saw, and I
Yeah.
have a Padre, I have a
Yes.
Chad, and I have a
Yeah.
Pulsar, but these are the best, dude.
That
The
is
Padre
excellent.
is sick. This knife is way too big for me. I don't need this knife. There's no reason for
Right.
me to have this knife except that it's amazing. So this was a
It's so
brand
cool.
and a knife in particular that I really, because of you, I didn't really see anybody else talking about them, and I was impressed by the actual knives themselves, but then also like the value that you brought to my attention. And it's true, like
Right.
these knives are sick, and Sergio is like the nicest.
Oh, yeah. He's so
And
nice. Yeah.
and I think that's part of what makes a company interesting too, and a brand interesting too, is like the interaction you can have. And this community is amazing. That's the other thing that I kind of didn't anticipate, but that is so cool. It's like the second that I started reaching out to people, talking about knives, like everybody wants to talk about it. And none of my close friends collect it. My friend Sam is interested, but he really is a guy that uses a knife for tools. So he listens to me when I'm like, "Hey, look what I got." And he's kind of interested, but it's not the same as when people like really understand and collect and have something that they can recommend, or they're like, "Oh, that looks sick, maybe I want to get my hands on that." So
Exactly, exactly. And hey, I guarantee that you do this now. If you walk by somebody, you do it without even realizing it. You look at their front pockets. And when you see a pocket clip, your brain immediately starts trying to guess what knife
oh,
it is. It's
100%.
such a
I
weird.
actually have a good story about that. I was having some air conditioning work done, like some new ducting put in. And about 20 minutes into the guy coming out and giving me the quote, he's like, "Oh, that's a nice Sabenza." And I was like, "Huh?" And then I looked at his pocket, and I was like, it's not it's not a Sabenza, it's actually an Nkosi." And he's like, "Ah, I knew it was Chris Reeves." And then he picked it up. I picked mine out. We traded. We were looking at him for a while. By the time he left, giving me the quote, we'd exchanged information, and he was
Oh,
like,
that's
"Actually,
so
I actually
cool.
have my half my collection in my car. Like, do you want to hold on to something?" And I was like, "Dude, you don't even know me." And he's like, "It's okay. I know where you live." So he left me with like I'd never handled like a 940. I'd never had an Osborne before. And so he's like, "Oh, you should definitely like this is a staple. Like, I can't believe you don't have one of these." So he left me that. He left me like a Spyderco, and he came back 3 weeks later and picked them up, and we talked about knives and stuff. But it was funny because he just looked at my pocket and saw that I had a knife, and he knew what kind of knife it was, and
Oh,
so it's
man.
just funny. It's so true,
What
you
a
know.
classic like knife guy. Like when you actually meet another knife guy in person, it's so funny. They all have that same like they want you to experience something good that they have also experienced. Because as soon as they know if you have a Chris Reeve in your pocket, they're like, there's no question. You don't accidentally end up with a
No,
Chris Reeve, right?
yeah,
You
no, it's
know,
true.
that's a and you know he's right. The pocket clip is instantly recognizable. It's hard to tell the difference in the pocket between the Incosi and the Sabenza. So yeah, it was a
Yeah,
good call. But and you knew it's like that moment you were like, we're
this
we're
guy,
both
yeah,
nice guys. Yeah,
yeah,
this guy.
we're gonna be buddies. We're gonna be
So cool that
buddies.
he was like, here's a bunch of stuff for you to try out. I've got it in my car.
Yeah, yeah. He was
It's so
just like, oh, he had this knife roll, like his, like he just like, yeah, I'd carry him around. I got him if I need them, and anyway, so it was like really fun, and my wife made fun of me. She's like, "That's your knife boyfriend," and I was like, "Well, I don't have any friends that, that collect."
that's
So anyway,
great.
yeah, it was
Oh
cool. It was
man,
very cool.
that's absolutely excellent. So let's see here. You know what? I had one more question I was going to ask you. Just like, first knife experiences. I'm pretty sure because I had to see chat pops up, and then when every time I do that, I have to like peek through and see you. But right when chat popped up, I'm pretty sure you reverse flicked the Padre. Did you do
I did.
the okay? How long the first time you realized people open knives with that back finger? How
Yeah.
long did it take you to get that down?
Um, it didn't take me that long. I learned it on a Vero.
Okay.
Um, and I think that was kind of I still can't like Spidey flick or bat whatever. I still call it the Spidey flick because that's how I first heard
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
With thumb studs very well. I bite my
Really?
nails. Yeah, I
Yeah.
bite my nails, so it's like it's
Okay.
hard. It's better with like a little fuller or something to dig my finger into. But I think yeah, it was with a Vero, and it took me a couple days. Um, and I just practiced. I flung the knife a couple times. It's so crazy when you first start doing it. It feels so foreign, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut my toe off or something like that. And now it's like I can't not do it the right way. It's
What
easy, but
that's
yeah,
so funny. That's such a magical moment, a transitional moment when you get it. But also you start to realize there's literally no other purpose to develop that muscle in that finger. Like when other than throwing somebody the bird,
yeah,
really aggressively, there's no other reason to do that. So it's such a weird because all these muscles that are there to just to let it move, they just it feels so weak and you watch other people do it and you're like, why is that so easy for them? But once you find the right leverage and the right angle, which is different with every knife,
yeah,
it's like lightning bolts. But some knives are like the Padre is so well designed, and the hole is at such a perfect position, and the D10 is tuned so properly that it's organic. And once you figure one out, you start to kind of make micro adjustments
yeah, yeah.
to
It's all
make it
about
work on
like
other knives.
yeah, it's like do you have to move your fingers a little bit to get off the lock bar, and that's always the hardest thing for me. Like I find like knives with narrow handles or skinnier handles, I always end up on the lock bar, and I'm kind of like I can't get it out. But then you learn to adjust, and every time you pick that one up maybe like a couple like after trying to flick a couple times it's like oh yeah I got to be back here and then it all makes sense.
Oh
I
man.
just saw that Sean Lum from Null Knives was on here, and I just got a voodoo,
Oh,
and that thing
sweet.
is insane, so
Yeah.
nice.
God, that's
It's
so it's one of those knives where like you feel like you've seen everything, and then the voodoo comes along and you're like, nah, I definitely haven't seen everything. And it makes you, it reminds you that the knife world will continue to surprise you, that people like him will come out of nowhere and show you something that will blow your mind. But it is such a good knife. I love that thing.
Well, what's so
So good.
interesting too is that sometimes you don't think a knife is going to be for you, or it's like because I tend to like simpler knives. Like I like like titanium, and I don't usually like coating on my blades. Sometimes I do, but and the voodoo is like very intricate and very designed, and I think on first view I was like, oh, it's beautiful, but I don't know if it's for me. But then I got it in my hand, and it's like, no, this is exactly for me. Like I love every aspect of it, every element of it. And again, that was kind of going back to what I said before about like sometimes you just don't know. You see something or you have a preconceived notion, and then a specific knife can kind of change your idea of what you love and what you want. And anyway, that was definitely one of them where I loved what it looked like, but I was like, I'm not sure if it's for me. It's on the bigger side for me, and it's just really detailed. And like I tend to like simpler knives, but then when I got it, I was
Sure.
like, no, this thing is sick. Love it.
I think I like because sometimes I gravitate towards simpler knives, and there's a certain comfort zone with that because you look at them and you think, this knife, I could carry this knife in so many different situations and feel okay,
Yeah.
Not to say that I always, like for example, if I'm about to go out to dinner, I'm obviously going to want something a little more lightweight, compact, and a little simpler to just kind of
Right.
complement. If I'm feeling fancy that night, I want to compliment it. You don't want to overdo it, but at the same time, a lot of those knives with really, I guess, minimalistic aesthetics will be fine in a work setting,
Hmm.
And so, we look at those things and we're just like, it's almost like the gray T-shirt of, pocket knives, and it just you're
Right.
like, I could wear that, where pretty much wherever and it'd be
Yeah.
like mostly appropriate wherever. But then, knives like the Voodoo, you get it in hand and you look at it and you really get to experience it. You could really get to feel it. And especially, I think for me, because this was how it was with Spyderco. I looked at Spyderco knives like the PM2 and I was like, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. That is so bizarrely. Why would I do? I don't want to carry a weird, half pair of scissors around with me. That is just
Right.
so bizarre. But then you get it in hand and you hold it and you realize it sinks in. You're like, this is why it's designed this way. It is
Right.
so convenient. And then all of that goes out the window, and then you're finding reasons to carry it, and it also opens up doorways to experience different things or other things that you originally thought you wouldn't be into. And the Knoll Voodoo is a good example of something that's busy and designy, but it's not so overwhelming that it kind of punches you in the face with its aesthetic. So
Yeah.
I just think, man, that he nailed it. And he's everything he's done so far has been spectacular. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see what else he does. So
Yeah, well, I think he had a drop today too. The Raikou maybe, or it's a pre-order or something, which looks
yes.
sick too. Like they all look awesome. I was when you're talking about like all the ways to open knives, I talked about that on the Urban EDC chat too, and the knife that I was like, sometimes I like very specific, like okay, like I've got the GMX, the giant mouse, integral or integral, and it's only got
Right.
one thumb stud. And I was like, that's cool. Like there's only one way to open this. They're telling you how to do it, which I really liked. And sometimes I want that. I'm like, yeah, I just want something simple and down the line. And then I was like, but then I was also looking at the nimble, and I was like, that has every way to open it. You can like you can flick it, you can front flip it, and I was like, that's cool too. Like sometimes like I just don't know what I want. I want to carry a knife where like it's just gonna fidget, and so I got one of those the other day too, and I was like, yeah, this is rad. Like there may be days where I don't want to be confused by which way I'm gonna open it, but man, what a cool knife. And I was like, yeah, no matter what way I want to open it, I can open it, which I thought was hilarious. I'm like,
Man,
just kind of fun.
I love that. There's two things that stood out to me there. One, this is a silly random thing. My wife hates it um, when I say integral, and she says
Right.
it's integral. She says it's integral, and she's got me all messed up now. So
Yeah,
everybody knows when I do a
you
review,
say
I
both.
I say both because I don't.
Yeah,
I'm like I don't
I
know,
know.
and you did the same thing, and I was
Well,
like
no, I think I only do that because you do that.
I'm
And I don't
sorry.
even know, well, because I don't even think I don't remember the last time I'd ever used that word until I started watching knife videos. And I was like, it's an integral handle, it's an integral. Like I don't know. I think you say it both ways, so I'm like, I don't even know which way it is. I have
Yeah,
no idea.
exactly. And you know you're going to get corrected either way. Like either way, somebody's going to try and correct you. So if you say both, I say it both ways. And even like when I'm not on camera and I'm just talking, I still do it. And
Yeah,
it's
you
just
correct
become
yourself.
like
Yeah.
now my brain
You,
is just like split it right down the middle. You know.
yeah, you've
Um,
made me paranoid about saying it the wrong way now. So, and I guess we have your wife to thank for that. So
yeah, and
thanks.
we absolutely do because according to her, there's only one way to say it. But the other thing that's it's really funny, and I feel like a lot of pretty much everybody who buys knives at a the pace at which you buy knives or add to your collection is different for everybody. But most people are into knives on multiple. And it's funny to where you go from, I remember absolutely mentally laboring over the decision to spend $65 on a pocket knife at Walmart. I was
Right.
like, that is an absurd amount of money to spend on a
Yeah.
pocket knife. But man, it looks cool. It's
Yeah.
black and it's serrated. And you go from that to just being like, you know what, 235, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And then you just do it, but I will still go to the grocery store and I'll be like, God, the price of pickles is getting ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
Seven
70
bucks for
cents.
pickles.
I know it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and they just raised the price. And then so you look at another brand and you're like, well, I don't think these are much different. And you will sit there and compare brand over 70 cents or
Yeah.
over a dollar. But then it comes to a pocket knife and you're like, yeah, $230. That sounds perfectly reasonable. And it takes you absolutely no time at all to make that decision.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think the most expensive knife I've picked up so far is the Oz Roosevelt,
Oh
and
boy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. But that was, and I know that there's way more expensive, but that is the most expensive. And I've been following them for a long time, and just kind of liking their stuff, and going up for lottos and not getting it. And then one day I got an Instagram message like, "Hey Sean, we just did a batch. If you're interested, we have one for you." And I didn't hesitate for a second. I knew exactly how much they were,
Oh,
and I was like, "Yep." And
yep.
I love it. And it's a beautiful knife. It's everything that people say that it is.
Yep.
And it's so smooth and I love it. What's interesting though is, and again, I'm sure that you can relate and most people watching this can relate. I I feel like when you start collecting, you're chasing the perfect knife.
Yes.
Like, like I love this, but then there's this other thing, and you feel like if you get the perfect knife in hand one day, you'll be like, oh, I'm done. Well, this to me is pretty much the perfect knife for me. The aesthetic is perfect, the milling is perfect, the size is perfect for me, the
Yes.
action is perfect. I got it in hand and I was like, man, this is my perfect knife.
Yep.
But
It
I want
really
more.
is. It's such a, I know, and you want more immediately. That's so, oh man, that's so funny.
But
And it
but
never ends.
well, and what I realized is this thing is so smooth and so awesome and so perfect that what I realized is some of the other knives that I love, they're kind of quirky or they have a flaw that makes me enjoy them or makes it interesting. Because I was like, yeah, this action is perfect. Again, the size is perfect. The profile for me is perfect. But and I love it. Like literally, this is like my probably my perfect knife. But there's a lot of other knives in my collection that have quirks or things that I love about it because they're different or off or it's not perfect. And that's kind of what
Right.
I like about them. And I didn't even
Yep.
realize that until I got that, like, again, quote unquote perfect knife. And I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to carry this a ton. But man, all this other stuff is great because it's not perfect.
Right.
There's something about it that's quirky and interesting and has character.
I think that's
So
a really good point, and I don't know that I would have been able to put that into words as well as you did. But it's kind. I don't know if this is a perfect analogy, but I remember being a kid and playing obsessively playing GoldenEye on N64.
hmm
And I remember the first time I had a friend who was like, "Dude," he came over for a sleep night, and he was like, "Hey, I got this thing called a Game Shark. You have no idea. I can plug this thing into this game and we can put codes in. You can do anything." And for about it was like 5 hours and a couple cases of Mountain Dew. That was the greatest experience of my life, you
Yeah.
know? But after a while, I was like, this is kind of like I love it. It's really fun playing this exactly the way that I want to with like no downsides, but I kind of want there to be some other element that makes it fun in a more challenging way, like being able to die. Like that's not the perfect analogy to go with knives, but a knife that has like a personality quirk that or quirk that makes it. It's not necessarily perfect, but it makes it enjoyable for that reason. I mean, I can completely understand. There are knives that I carry every day that are not optimal by my own standards, but I just enjoy them because they have those weird elements,
Yeah, the
So,
intangible thing. It's like I
yep,
just like it. Like the action's
yep,
not perfect. It's not drop shut or whatever your standard is, but it's like oh, it's still awesome though. I still love it. Like the
right.
feel of it or the look of it or whatever, just the way that it makes you feel. And it is a hard thing to explain to people that don't collect or aren't into it. But if you know, you know. And
Yep.
that's what's rad, you know?
Yep. Absolutely. That's what's really cool about most people that are this deep into the hobby. Once you get past a certain point, you just only meet people who just agree that we don't all like the same stuff, but everybody just kind of gets that everybody enjoys different things and it doesn't have to make sense to everybody. And that's this tier of the knife world is really, I don't mean to sound gatekeepy at all, but once you get past all the mess at the front and trying to understand that people enjoy it for more than the utility of it, once you get past that, everybody's just sort of in calm agreement, and it's just fun to just engage with other people who have different perspectives on stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, and again, that's why I enjoy your channel and other people's channels because they bring a perspective to it that I don't have, you know? And again, like I think the Kun Padre is a perfect example. If I had seen that, I would have been, "No, that's not for me. That's not something that I want to carry. It's too big, it's too whatever." But your interest in it and the value that you thought it had, I was like, well, that may be something. And then I got it in hand. I was like, this thing is awesome. And like, I don't need to carry a knife this big, but I like to. It's just awesome. And I don't even
there's
carry it that much, but it's a when I'm sitting on the couch and I'm flicking my knives, like that's a go-to. It's satisfying. There's something about it that's so cool.
I honestly, and from my perspective, and I say this a lot, there's no better feeling than even the enjoyment that I get from the knives themselves. There's no better feeling than really feeling sure about how good a knife is and recommending it to somebody, or better yet, gifting it to somebody, and they go, you know what? I get this. This actually is that you can see that like it clicks and they enjoy. There's no better feeling than getting that reaffirmation that you know how you felt is shared by somebody else. So I'm so happy that you and other people enjoy the Kunwu knives because they've been here lately. They've been wildly popular, and for a long time they were severely underrated, criminally
Right.
underrated. I just couldn't believe, and it's not just that they're bringing the cool materials. They're not just like throwing titanium and cool, blade steels at you. They're heat treating it correctly. They're getting good geometry. The guy is Sergio is a knife guy. You can tell, by the stuff that he puts out on the market. He's not just slapping together what he thinks is going to be popular. He's making cool, like he's making stuff for enthusiasts and users, and it's passion. It
Yeah.
translates really well. So
No,
it's
totally.
cool to see that. Are you wearing a Peace Neighbor hat right now?
I am wearing a Peace Neighbor hat.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I
I have. So I have this project called Peace Neighbor that I started during COVID. I just was bored, basically, and I felt creatively kind of stuck. I couldn't act. I couldn't do the thing that I've been doing since I was a kid, and that's kind of how um, I guess vent sometimes. Like I find that a really good outlet for me. And so I started doodling. I'm not much of a drawer, but I had or like an artist really at all. But I had an iPad and I started doodling stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna design some hats and make something for me that I can wear and just whatever. And the whole concept of Peace Neighbor came because I would sit on my stoop at the front of my house in LA, and you know as silly as it sounds, we were all wearing masks outside and people were walking their dogs and everybody was having a hard time. And I would just smile and throw a peace sign to anybody that walked by. And nine times out of 10, they would stop, smile, throw a peace sign back up, wave, start a conversation. And so the whole idea of like this, like a small gesture in a really hard time can change someone's day. You know, like that was, and as cheesy as that sounds, like that just idea stuck in my head. And then, so I started to develop the brand based on that kind of idea. And, I grew up skateboarding and snowboarding and playing in punk bands and stuff. So I wanted the aesthetic to sort of balance the kind of hippie nature of it. Um, and so yeah, I started to incorporate some of the skate style and stuff that I grew up with, and I still like. I'm almost 44. I'm like, maybe I'm too old to be, still wearing Vans and all that, but I do. I live in California. I'm like, it's cool. Nobody cares, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where the brand came from, and why I wanted to start it. And then it was embraced kind of by people in the EDC community. Justin Koch from Koch Tools was the first guy to reach out and be like, hey, I like the artwork, I like what you're doing, tell me about it. Someone just said that they're rocking their Peace Neighbor hat today. Thank you.
Oh, that's
um,
excellent.
so he
Excellent.
actually really inspired me to sort of keep going, because somebody from the outside world that I didn't know was like, "Hey, I like the artwork. I like what you do." And he and I talked a little bit, and we came from similar background. We like the same music, and grew up like skateboarding and stuff like that. And then Matt from Urban EDC reached out, and that's when and he was like, "Hey, like, tell me about it." And I told him about the brand and the idea, and he was like, "Yeah, I love the artwork. Like, maybe we could collaborate on something." So that's how it came to be. That literally was like, I wasn't fishing for it. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just started an Instagram account and would post the artwork sometimes, and I just got a little bit of interest and sort of ran with it. So I started making ranger eyes and hats, and going to move into just hoodies, t-shirts, all that. So just just a side project, something that I like doing, and I think it's kind of fun. And it's been embraced, so I feel really thankful for that.
That's really cool, man. I first heard. I love the. I mean, the idea behind it is so direct and perfect. I mean, it's
Yeah,
positivity of it.
it's what
It's
it is
just
on, like, on the surface. Like, there's no subtlety to it.
yeah, yeah. And well, so I was. You brought it up when you were talking with Matt, and I looked at the logo and I was like, that is a cool logo. I think that's a, and so I am. I didn't even, and I didn't mean to throw you a curveball, but I was like, that's the Peace Neighbor logo. Like, it's funny how it's immediately recognizable. It's kind of burned into my brain now. But
Yeah.
yeah, guys, I have linked his social media in the description. You can check out his Instagram account, his personal Instagram account, but also the Peace Neighbor account. But I thought the idea behind what he was doing was just really cool. So
Oh,
if you guys
thanks,
want
man.
to check that out, you definitely should. But I'm gonna have to get myself one. I At this point, I'm basically collecting hats from the different. I mean, I'm wearing an Under Armour hat right now, but I got my Hawk Knives hat and just all the brands that I really, really enjoy. So I'm gonna have to pick up a hat for sure. But
Well,
that's really
when I
cool.
get a new we're almost sold out, actually. Which is amazing. But the next time I get another run in, I'll send you some stuff.
Okay, cool, man. Thanks.
If
I
you'll wear it,
appreciate
I'll
it.
send it to you.
Oh, I definitely will because let me tell you, my hairline game is not what it used to be, and now
Yeah.
hats are. It's like all the way up until I turn the lamp off like I'll sit in bed and I've been been playing Starfield on my ROG Ally,
Oh, nice.
and I'll be like, well, it's time for bed, and I'll like take the hat off and turn the lamp, and it's just my wife in the room, and I'm like, who am
Right.
I wearing my app for, But
Yeah, she
um,
knows. She knows what's going on. Listen, we're
that's
all
funny.
having that. Like, as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a little thinner here, a little thinner here. Like, we're all dealing with it. So I think I'm
Dude,
most envious with like 50-year-old men with like a full thick head of hair. I'm like,
it's insane. I
yeah.
like I really I got to 33 and I was like, my hair's all right, and then I hit 34 and it was like watching a struggling lawn die in September. It was
Needs
just
some fertilizer. Come on.
it was so yeah, it was just instantly and I was like, well, I guess that's it. And we had a
Yeah.
small, funeral for my hairline together as a
Right.
family. And we said
Nice.
goodbye.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
oh man. Well, let's see here. I'm trying to think. There was actually a brand that I thought you might want to check
I
out,
was
and
gonna ask. I was gonna say, is there anything like coming out or anything that you're interested in production wise? Because custom stuff, I haven't even stepped through that yet.
yeah, that's a weird place. I really feel like your your taste in particular, and they can sometimes be a little tricky to get, but I know that he's going to continue to collaborate with Riyadh, which I think is right there in your ballpark. But and I talk about them a lot, so I know you've heard me talk about them. But Sharp by Design and
Oh
their
yeah,
collaborations with
I
Riyadh.
know. So
That
yeah, I've seen a few on the secondary that I'm like, oh, maybe. I know how much you love those. I think the one that I like is that the one that has the flipper tab that comes down or without the.
this is the front flipper. This is the Mini Tempest, so it's a little
Okay,
smaller than
that's
the.
then that would be yeah, that would be right up my alley. Yeah,
Okay,
that's sick.
so
Yeah.
hopefully Brian Nadeau just kind of does whatever he wants whenever he feels like, and it I know that when he does these collabs and getting them out to people, and trying to do it himself has created a headache in the past.
Mm,
But when he does something, it is so meticulously perfect. And
yeah.
the crazy thing about these is it's not just how they look. I mean, they are designed very, very well, but his lipped detent system creates a totally different experience. And it really takes, I think it's a perfect example of Riot can manufacture very, very well. They can take a semi sloppy design and they can make it incredible because they just know what they're doing. But when you get somebody like Brian who really knows what he's doing and he knows how to design things and he's really obsessive over every last little line, and then you send all that information off to Riot and I imagine he helicopters and he's just
Right.
like, you got to do it like this.
Yeah.
And
Over
then
every little last detail.
oh my God, you can tell this is a product of absolute obsession, like anxiety, like laborious anxiety obsession, and
Yeah.
it's so perfect, so I'm hoping that he does more runs like this. I know he's got I know he's got other projects in the works, so um, that's definitely something that I think you would like, just because he's got that cool look. It's all real streamlined, but there's still enough personality there. You can look at it and say that's a Sharp by Design.
Yeah.
Some of the best stuff in my collection is absolutely Sharp by Design.
Okay,
So
good to know. I've heard it like in person now. I mean, I love what they look like, and I feel like I've missed drops, or I haven't really been ready to buy something. You know what I
yeah,
mean? When it happens, that's the hard thing, right? Like you start chasing, and it's like, well, I just bought a knife last week, and then something great comes out, and I have to. I'm let's. I think trying to think of the best way to say this. Like I'm frugal. Like as an actor, it's kind of like I've been doing this since I was a kid, and you learn that like there's peaks and valleys, right? So it's like, yeah,
sure,
when you're working, you get paid well, but then you go like 8 months without a job or whatever. So I'm always like trying to figure out like and giving myself a solid knife budget so I never go crazy. But unfortunately, like sometimes you miss, stuff that you really want because you're like, damn it, I just bought this knife and now this one came out. So
exactly.
I'll have to keep some space on my budget in case he does another drop of those because they look amazing.
100%. And you want the purchase to be meaningful. You don't want to just be scratching an itch because you're itchy. And
Yeah,
I think, and like, I'm sitting here saying this, and I know my chat's gonna be like, you're such a hypocrite, dude. You
right,
buy a new knife every two, and they're right, and I am. But this is a do as I say, not as I do
right.
situation. But you want that purchase to be meaningful. You wanna take the time. You wanna watch reviews and get multiple perspectives, and you kind of spend the time absorbing the essence of the knife the best you can without touching it, and then you make that decision, you want to feel like you have all of the information you could possibly get, and it's been budgeted for, and it's not only a comfortable purchase, but it's a meaningful purchase. And then the ultimate cherry on top is you get it and it's everything you want it to be, and then some,
Yeah,
and those are rare situations, especially the deeper in that you get with this stuff,
yeah.
so it's that's I just feel like that's gonna be the next big, for you. I feel like if you pick one of these up, you'll be like, holy crap, there really is
Yeah,
something crazy about this,
yeah. No, definitely, definitely. And I know I will eventually. Again, I actually was looking at one on the secondary a while ago, and I was thinking like, "Ah, should I get it?" So I'll get one eventually. One way or another, I'll get one.
Cool, man, cool.
You know what knife? And I don't know if you've reviewed one, but I'm really, really interested. And it's a company called HMC, Hellion Machine Collective, and they have a knife called the Transient. I don't know if you know, they're sick. You should check them out. I haven't seen one in person, but
I'm going to. I'm ashamed to say that I've never heard,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but
Check
I'm
out
interested in.
HMC on Instagram. A guy named Jim runs a company, and they are awesome. Like so
Okay.
cool looking. And he's a really really nice guy. We chat on Instagram. You know, we're Instagram buddies, and yeah, his stuff is sick, and I'm definitely gonna get something from him one day too. But they he collaborates with a guy named David Carver as well. They do like a smaller version, a 2.9-inch version, and then there's a 3.2-inch version. But they're sick, and the materials they use are amazing. Check it out.
I will. Yeah.
That's a knife that I don't see as many people talking about, and I again I haven't handled one, but just the look of them and the way that people react when I have talked to them about it is sick. So yeah, check that out.
I definitely will. I think that's another major joy is discovering a new brand, or just not only discovering a new brand, but discovering a new brand that's doing something really awesome that you don't usually see. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check them out. That's one of my favorite things is like diving into a new brand and seeing what all they do. So that's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah, his
Um,
feed is sick. Yeah, the knives are awesome. Like vintage Westinghouse micarta like scales and just all the steels. I mean, anyway, it looks awesome. You'll dig it. You'll be into it.
that's great. I will absolutely check that out. I was gonna ask you, how are you doing resisting the urge to get into the all of the stuff that comes with. Let me quote Nick Shabazz: "Do not get into watches." How
Yeah,
are you doing resisting all of the? Because it's knife guys. It's like a lot of knife guys they like pens. They like watches. They like like your Pete from Cedric Ganeta is obsessed with the Leathermans and the Swiss Army
right.
multi tools. Have you
So,
found that you're tempted by anything else?
sure, sure. So the good news is I'm not handy at all. So all the tools and stuff like that, the multi tools are kind of wasted on me. Like I've got what I need, but like I'm useless with tools and fixing things. So I really can't justify collecting those.
Okay.
I you know what? I got the plus side of being an actor and being recognizable is sometimes people will send you stuff, which is fantastic. So I got really lucky and Tactile sent me a beautiful bolt action pen, and I love it. I use it.
Yeah.
I travel with it. I have it in my pocket all the time. But I did, and I love it. And I was very grateful for them to send me one. That was amazing. But I didn't feel like I needed more of those. I was like, oh, I have this beautiful titanium pen. Like I just didn't need more of them. And maybe I will get hooked, but luckily I didn't because that's not another thing that I need. I briefly I own a fairly expensive watch, but I have one. It's a Tudor Submariner. It's like a
Oh
vintage,
God.
1993. And I hunted this down. I searched for it. I found it in Japan. Um, my buddy has a Submariner, Rolex Submariner, and I was like, man, what a great watch. And I had no idea a how expensive they were, and B, how hard they are to get. And so when I
Yeah.
started going down that path, I was like, I'm not waiting 3 years to get a watch, and I'm not spending that much money. I was like, that's insane. And then I started doing my research and found out that Tudor is like a sister brand to Rolex, and the quality is basically the same. The movement's slightly different, but they're made in the same factory sometimes, and they have components. So the watch that I ended up buying has a Rolex case and a Rolex crown. And I was like, that's kind of a cool story. It's like not a Rolex, but it's from that lineage. And again, if you're a watch guy, some people are like, oh, that's a cool watch. I know about that watch. It's not like the Rolex, but it has
Right.
this similar kind of history and heritage and whatever. So I bought an expensive watch, and my wife was like, you're crazy. That's a used watch. What are you doing? And for about 2 months, I was obsessed with watches. But then I was like, I can't afford them. I don't get like I have a great watch. That's all I really need.
It's terrifying. And you have a Tudor. It's so funny you say that because my dream watch right now is a Tudor Pelagos, which I'm sure I'm
Yes.
mispronouncing. And I've spent I've spent more on a knife, but I am into watches, and I keep telling myself, you're gonna do it. You're just putting off the. You're right that when I started researching Tudor and Rolex, it's kind of like Tudor is Chevy and Rolex is Cadillac, but there's a
Yes.
little. But I mean, they really are. I mean, a lot of people. If you drive an Escalade, and you're talking to somebody who drives a really nice Chevy Suburban, then obviously you're gonna make a case for the Cadillac, and you're gonna say, hey, they're really and truthfully, you compare them side by side, and yes, there are obvious like major embellishments with the Cadillac that shouldn't go underappreciated. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, a lot of it is you know, it's a lot of the same thing,
the
and you can
the
get a
the
lot of the
luxury
great stuff.
brand, that's
Right,
kind of like
exactly.
I think the finishing on a Rolex is more precise, and the movement is in-house, you know, compared Tudor now has in-house movements, but the one that I have is like an ETA movement, which is like a Swiss movement, like that brands would outsource and put into their watches. They're still Swiss movements. They're fantastic, but they're not in-house, so they're not as prestigious, let's say. But at the end of the day, this thing keeps amazing time. Um, and yeah, it's really, again, it's like you found that perfect knife, or you found that knife that is amazing, that still has all the heritage and the functionality. It's just not necessarily the highest tier or the most luxurious brand. But then you have to figure out, like, well, am I paying for the name and for the brand, or am I paying for the function of the watch? So I kind of found some middle ground. That being said, the watch I bought was still way more expensive than anyone should ever spend on a timepiece, probably, but I love it. I wear it every day, and it's special. Like, I really do
Right,
love it. It's something I spent time researching and searching all over the world to try to find like the right one. So
and there's
it was very
joy.
cool.
Every
Oh
time you
yeah,
look at it, there's that joy. I was realizing while you were talking, I was like, oh, not only does he like watches, but he actually knows substantially more about watches than I do. I realized when you said you got went into watches for 2 months, you really got, because I'm still learning and I, ironically had a lot of like a lot of the other channels that I chat with all the time, once they realized that I was kind of interested, Nick did his usual. He was like, "Oh, don't get into watches, but
yeah,
also let me show you a lot of really cool stuff all at once."
yeah,
And they doomed me immediately. I was like, "Why would you do this to me? This is so cool. It's so
yeah.
interesting, but it's so expensive, you know?"
Yeah,
So,
I get the thing that I love is the mechanical nature. Like when you realize what's happening inside and the size. Like I got so into it, and when I say 2 months, that's when I was like obsessed with like, oh, I'm gonna buy a bunch of watches, but then I didn't. But I still like watch reviews. And the thing, this sounds ridiculous, but I got into watching channels where they restore vintage mechanical watches.
oh
So
boy,
like
wow.
this guy will get sent like a Rolex that somebody's grandfather wore during World War II that has been smashed and doesn't work. And he'll literally take it apart. And it's like an hour-long video, it's time lapse, where they take every single gear and sprocket and spring and clean them and polish them and then put it back together and then have this working piece of machinery. And it's like, again, I felt the same way as when I handled that Microtech for the first time. Like, it's magic. Like the dedication and the engineering and just the minutia that go into making something like this work. And it's like, do we need it? No, you got an iWatch that's probably more accurate, that can
Right.
do way more, but that's not what it's about. It's about like this cool, sometimes handmade thing that people engineered and put painstaking time and development and passion into. Like, that's what it's about. That's what's so cool about it.
Yep, yep, absolutely. I can, man, that's now see, talking with you about this, I'm realizing, oh, there are corners of that world that I didn't even realize that I might be interested in. And so that part of my brain that makes me obsessive about knives is now
Yeah.
itching to go explore that route. So thank you for
Oh yeah.
that.
Well, I got into like vintage watches because I just was like, oh, the idea of like the history of this. Like somebody wore this, and again, these watches that are so expensive, you know, back then they were like, a Rolex was like $600, and they're meant to wear all day, every day. And when you find these watches, somebody wore them and loved them and like literally wore them all their whole lives. And then it's available. And some people are like, well, I want a new watch. I don't want, and I'm like, I love the idea that there's a story behind this. Someone
Right.
loved this and bought this and wore it and lived a whole life in it and went on adventures and you know, got married in it and maybe got a divorce. Like all the, like just the whole story behind it to me is fascinating and interesting. So good
Just
luck.
you talking about this like makes me feel like this is a story that I want to learn. Like
Yeah.
like it's no, that's so cool. I honestly would not have initially thought of it that way, but yeah, now it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I'm
really
sure you'll
cool.
go down to, again, like check out some of these YouTube channels. I don't even know the names of the channels, but just like vintage Rolex restorations or whatever the brand is. And they're just guys that's their business. That's their passion. They break these things down and fix them and put them back together. And then they're
Wow.
working. like brand new and they're 80 years old or they're 100 years old or they went through a world war or whatever. It's amazing.
That's really cool. I will. That's a rabbit hole that I will absolutely explore.
Good luck to
Um,
you. Sorry about that.
I was gonna add one more thing here because I know I just realized I was like, oh man, I promised them a giveaway. It's so weird how quickly, like I looked up and it's been an hour. Like,
Yeah.
what? How did we just pass an hour? Um, but
Just talking knives and stuff. It's
I
easy.
know that'll do it. When we were talking pens, I got to add this one more thing, and you're exactly right about tactile because I thought, the same thing that people think on the surface of the knife world. How could you get that into knives? I was thinking, how do people get that into pens? Then I got a tactile, and I was like, well, shit. I think I get it. But the problem is the tactile is so good that I have
Yeah.
no real desire to it. I have two of them. I use one
Right.
down here for work, and I keep one in my truck because I need a special pen to sign the thing at the bank. And
Yeah.
but it's they're that good. That's a one and done brand for pens for sure. And
Yeah.
honestly, they're knives too.
I haven't tried any of the tactile knives yet. I followed them, like, all the stuff looks cool. I just haven't got a hold of one yet. But what is it? Their is it the rock wall? Is that
Yes.
their kind of like, yeah? Those always look right to me. Those are like the right size for me. Slim and clean, and so that's definitely. And the Maverick looks cool too. But
Yes.
I do have quite a few like Axis style lock knives, so I'm kind of like, it looks amazing. I know it's a Rogers design, and I love his stuff. I have a couple of his, the Slim Utilities, the OEM version, and I love those. So I love his designs, but I think the Rockwall is the one that I want to pick up just because it's a little different than anything else that I have.
Yeah, I think you would really enjoy that, and their machining is everything that you enjoy about the pens. You'll enjoy about the knife too, as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it translates really well.
cool. That's great.
Well, Sean, this has been amazing, and again, I'm flattered that you just wanted to come hang out. I mean, hey, I'm hoping that at some point you would want to come hang out and chat again because it seems like my people are enjoying this conversation. I really like that people wanted to come hang out with us and listen to us talk. I'm
Me
sorry,
too.
I gotta apologize to chat because I look at it for a second and I'm like I could answer that, but then you and I keep getting back and talking about other things, but. Yeah, this has been a blast, man. I really
Yeah, man.
appreciate it.
And I'd love to come back. Like,
Okay.
let's set it up, and maybe I'll have some more pickups and we can talk about some new stuff. But anytime, man. I love this. And like I said, I don't in my day-to-day life, I don't have an opportunity to chat. So like knives with people. So whenever I get the chance, I feel the same way. It's like an hour's gone by and I've had a smile on my
Yeah.
face and we've just been talking about the stuff we love. So that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
That's excellent, man. I really appreciate it. Well, now that we know how YouTube is gonna do this, like, because this is my first time doing a invite someone and just do a live stream, and fortunately, it worked flawlessly. So this is great. So now I'm much more confident about having people on. So I'm happy if you want to come back, man. That's
Oh,
awesome.
I'd love to, man.
So,
I'd love to.
cool. Well, I'm so here's what's gonna happen, guys. I have to do, and everybody knows I always have to take a bathroom break during, during the live streams. Have to. I've had half of a Michelob Ultra. It's terrible. I mean, admittedly, I had two monsters today, so that probably had more to do with it. But anyways, I'm gonna sign off here for a second. We're gonna take a quick break and we'll get back at it. But Sean, thank you again for hanging out. And make sure, guys, check out his Instagram. Check out Peace Neighbor, which is linked in the description. It's literally right below the entry link. People are already so what they're doing there with the numbers. They play this game where when I leave, they initially they were guessing what I was doing, and then it turned into them rating me out of 100, and so now it's
Yes.
just turned into this weird game. So thank you for that.
Yay.
But
Well,
yeah,
thank you for having me, and everyone on the stream. Thanks for hanging out. That was awesome. I feel like we had a good chat.
yeah, for sure. Thank you guys, and hey, Sean, we'll see you again soon. All right,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
for sure. Hey, we'll see you
See ya.
guys. Wow, 922 of you in here. That is excellent. Very cool. That was really, really fun. I was so excited that Sean wanted to hang out and do this with me. Now we have to go through the awkward process of turning this. We're gonna turn, and let's see if the orientation changes. So we're gonna test something here real quick. Let me watch on my. Is it going to? Yeah, no, it's not going to work with us. That means we get to do the rest of the live stream in this orientation, which is going to be a little bit awkward facing the other way. So here we go. Let's give this a shot here. There we go. Almost. Once you start the live stream like this, you don't apparently get to go back to doing it the other way. So let's get that down to where it normally is. It doesn't let you change back to the other orientation. You can't go sideways. So that just means we got to raise the camera way up. And we're just going to have to set it like this for now so that everybody can kind of see. I'm going to move these out of the way. We are definitely still going to do the giveaway. And I'm going to put this right here so you guys can see what we got going on here. All right. I will be right back. I have to use the restroom. Right back. Follow the instructions. All right. Holy moly. We are back. I had so much fun with that. Listen, I want to know. Sorry, I'm just trying to straighten this out because there's nothing I can do about the orientation. So if you just showed up, it's because I had a guest on and YouTube is freezing this orientation on me. So just kind of pack some knives in there. I just need you to follow the instructions before we do the giveaway. Let me ask you guys, and I am going to hang out a bit. I am going to, but we're about to draw. Don't worry, we have not drawn for knives yet. Would you guys like to see me have, because now that YouTube makes this easy to have guests, would you guys like me to have guests on? Would you guys like me to have, Nick Shabazz and Ray from Everyday City Carry and Tri-State? Would you guys like that? Okay. Did you guys enjoy the format tonight? I really like talking with people. I love talking with people. So, especially, obviously people who are into knives. So, if you guys like this, then I won't, obviously I can't do it every single time, but now that I know that it's that easy, oh my gosh. We could do live streams where half of the stream is the guest and me, and the other half is just me and you guys. That would be very easy to do. Half an hour, half an hour. Okay. Who knew? How many of you in here knew that Sean Ashmore was into pocket knives? How many of you had any idea? Unbelievably down to earth person. I think we've just been casually chatting about pocket knives on Instagram for it's been months. Yeah. So it's really cool. It's really cool to see just people from everywhere, all walks of life, interested in the same stuff, you know? So seeing him talk with Matt, I was like, man, that is so cool. I wonder if he would talk with me. And of course, of course, he was like, yeah, of course. So that was fun. I really, really enjoyed that. I love having you guys here. You know, what I assume is about the same 1,000 people who always show up. So that's great. But it was also fun to have Sean here to kind of hang out with us. You know, so you guys need to seriously. I mean, follow him on Instagram. You can follow his main account for sure, but follow his Peace Neighbor account. The idea behind his brand is actually really cool. It's really straightforward. There's not it, you know it's got a very simple positive message, and it's that type of purity in the message I think is worth it's worth at least a follow for sure. So I do have a knife guy rush. It's funny that you recognize that when you get really stimulated in conversation and you talk with anybody. I mean, I could have the same conversation with literally any of you, face to face. We could have the same conversation and talk for hours. I could have sat there and done that for another 2 hours. I told him I told him I wouldn't keep him longer than an hour, and I didn't want him to feel obligated to stay. I didn't want him to feel trapped, so I said 45 minutes to an hour, and I didn't want to make him stay. But I feel like he probably would have stayed and talked longer. I was absolutely knifing. I was nerding out talking knives for sure. What do I recommend for a sharpener? A KME. It's expensive, but whoa, it will change your life. I learned how to sharpen, and I wouldn't call myself an expert sharpener, but I went from an absolute novice to intermediate level very quickly. And I am pretty confident sharpening anything but like a Tanto. Um, I can't do a convex edge or anything like that, but I can get a blade sharp. I can get a blade very sharp on a KME. Good, good. I'm happy that the flow is good. I'm happy with that. That's really cool. I can't, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys I wasn't a little bit nervous. It for obvious reasons. But Sean is it's like I said, he's a very down to earth person. He made that very easy for me. He's obviously very comfortable in talking to anybody, which is really cool. So I haven't. I was more nervous for this stream than my very first live stream on YouTube. Oh man, had a good time. I think most of you obviously know who he is. If you don't, just Google his name and you'll find a list of um, TV shows and things. I didn't want to, you know, we're all human beings and we all have, sometimes it's hard to see past, your, I guess your social status, right? But you get past that and you realize we're all human beings, and so it was really cool. You find common ground with somebody, and then you just become two people talking, right? So yeah, he's been in a number of movies and TV shows. He's still currently doing things like that. I think a lot of people will recognize him as Iceman from X-Men. That's where you'll have recognized him from. But at this point, Sean is now Sean the knife guy, and that's cool. That's it was cool to talk with another knife guy. Let's see here. You know what, guys? It's time to draw. So, give me a moment. Yeah, look at that rook. That's mine. Now I gotta actually. I gotta pay Surge. That's what I'm gonna do immediately after the live stream. I'm so pumped that the review is done. It was a 30-minute video. I gushed about it, as you guys might guess. Again, very sorry for the awkward angle tonight. That's just how it's going to be. I know you guys will make do with whatever, so I appreciate that. Has everybody done this? Step 1, link in the description. Okay. Oh, these are backwards. Sorry. Link in the description. Right at the top, it says how to enter. Right. Okay, let me fire up the iPad while you guys join in and make sure that you're entered there. It's going to take me just a sec because I realized the iPad was completely powered off. So here, look, here's a knife. Look at that beautiful zirconium Vero there. And thank you very much for the, we had lots of people gifting memberships. Guys, amazing. I'm so sorry about not, being, it's hard because you're on my screen. I'm seeing his face and the chat is just right over the top of it. They don't separate it, right? So I'm trying to focus on what he's saying and read chat, and I'm realizing I shouldn't be trying to read chat right now. I want to be focusing on what he's saying. But I will do my best to make that a little better in the future when we have other people, talking or other guests, right? I am going to hang out for another 20 because I feel like, I want to have my time with you guys. So I will hang out for another 20, 25, maybe even 30 minutes after this for anybody who wants to hang out. All righty. Give me a sec here. Thank you. Thank you to the people who are donating. That's what I was saying. Thank you to the people who are donating memberships. That's really cool. And thank you to the people who donated for super chats. I'm sorry I missed everybody. And thank you to the new people joining Knights of the Round. All right. There's that. Okay, we're just about up and running here. How do I go into the description? Oh, there it is. It's different now. The orientation's super different. There we go. Link is copied. All right. Holy moly. You got to do it once. This was like, it seems like such a silly little thing, but this was literally jumping off the diving board for me. We were using a new system. I had never used it before, right? It's live. You're talking with another private. I don't think I'd done a guest live before, so that was a big deal. So I'm still kind of coming down from that, but it went so smooth. I'm very motivated to do it again, and you guys will see Sean again. I'm not going to harass him for his time, but if he's willing to come back, you will absolutely see him again. But Tri-State, I feel like Tri-State was in here at one point. Tri-State, you and me, we have to do this now. We have to, right? Same with Ray and Nick and Levon and a number of other people. All right. I'm just at the point where I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Here we go. The actual, what is this? Oh, we have to refresh the page. Okay. New link. You didn't see me do it. Here. See that reload button? There we go. We're going to refresh it. Okay, now we're going to go in here. We're going to paste this link, which you guys can see there, kind of. You can check it if you want, I guess. Filter duplicate users. And we're going to go down here and click Get YouTube Comments. Give me a sec here. Such a manual, ugly process, I know. We'll get StreamYard at some point. What do we got? Oops. 1,141. I think that looks about right. All righty. The winner of the first pouch, are you guys ready? Is ADHD Hobby Guy. Love the Rookie and Warehouse 13. Keep it up. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Excellent. Love the content MC. So we're looking for ADHD Hobby Guy. Are you here? I'll bring the pouches out here in just a second. We're just very narrow in frame right now. Hey, there he is. I see him. And he's a knight. Very cool. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to move the iPad. He's definitely in here. Here are the remaining 6 pouches which have not been moved. since they've literally been sitting in the exact same spot. So 1 is over here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tell me which one you want. ADHD hobby guy, 1 through 6. He wants number 3. Just want to confirm that's this guy right here. Is this what you want? Yes or no? Look how nice that. We're in my Titan diver, the titanium diver. 3, he says. 3. Did he confirm? Yes, sir. That's what he wants. Okay. Number 3. Remember, there's a $500 knife in there somewhere. We have a Civivi pouch. What do we have here? Oh, the other Vision FG, the blackout Civivi Vision FG. That, I got to be honest with you. When Civivi sent 2 more of these, I really wanted to keep the black one. But it's brand new and it's yours. So the blackout Civivi Vision FG, which is just about a perfect DDC knife. That is yours. Congratulations. I will put that back in here. It does come with the original box, so don't worry, right? It's just going to stay in this pouch until it's ready to go. All you have to do is email me at metalcomplex87@gmail.com with your full name, your shipping information, and the exact knife that you won. Don't worry if I don't respond to you immediately. In fact, even if I don't respond to you all the way up till next Friday, there's nothing wrong. That's Thursday or Friday is when I do shipping. You'll get your tracking confirmation. As the 2 who won last week, they just got their shipping information like right before the stream, so that's normal. But that's all you have to do. So, good job. Congratulations. All right. We're going to scooch these off to the side here real quick. And we're going to come back up here. And we're going to choose this button right here, which says pick another winner, right? And we're back off to the start screen. Let's put that right there, right in the middle. All righty. Yeah, it was fun. It's always fun. He was like, no way, no way. I love that. Because everybody thinks they're not going to win until they win. I mean, his odds were 1 in 1,000, but he got it. He got that shiny Pokemon. I think your odds for a shiny Pokemon are actually lower. All right. The final winner of this evening is SG Man with Cross Swords. MC, great stuff. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you, SG Man. Cross Swords. We're looking for an orange S. SG Man with Cross Swords. Here we go. Orange S. Come on, Orange S. There he is. He's here immediately. Yes. He's here. I saw him. I can only imagine the rush. Seeing it stop on your name, that's got to be a... I don't get to experience this. You guys do. I've never won anything. I always buy lottery tickets when the thing is over 500 million. I obviously never win. I never win anything that I enter. So you guys get to do this and I don't. But I'm happy to create this experience for sure. Okay. SG Man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's still in here. We're halfway and nobody's drawn it yet. So you got 5 to choose from. Tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Which one do you want? Number 1. He picks number 1. SG Man right here. I'm going to go ahead and say that that's correct. I don't think we need to confirm that. It's on the far left. So let's move these out of the way. This is a dense one. What do we have here? Oh, he got a good one, though. That's the Max Ace Goliath in San Mai SLD Magic Titanium and G10 with a titanium liner lock. That is a sweet knife. That's a big boy and definitely one of the more expensive ones of the bunch. So congratulations there. That is let me tell you, that blade is a ridiculous cutter. This is a huge knife. I want to say it's almost 10 inches or maybe a little bit bigger, but it's actually it's a Sanmai SLD Magic Blade, which is very cool. I think that's probably the coolest version of this, and the action on this knife is superb. You will very much enjoy that magnificent beast. So, all you have to do to claim this knife, let me move the iPad. There it is. All you have to do is email me at metalcomplex87@gmail.com with your first and last name, your complete shipping information, and the exact knife that you won. Again, don't worry if I don't respond to you immediately or all the way up until next Friday. You will absolutely receive tracking information, so you'll know when it ships, and you'll definitely get your knife as well as the box it came in. This is completely and totally unused and ready to go. I love that. You can see the line there and the core. If you look closely, you can see the core on the spine there. So that'll be a fun collection piece or a great user if you want to carry it. That'll be excellent. So congratulations. All right. I'm going to put some other knives on the table here real quick, and we're going to put some Nintendo tunes on, and we're all going to just hang out for a little bit because I actually cleared it with the wife, so we're good to go. I said it's going to run a little long because we have a guest on. So yeah, we're just going to hang out for just a little bit here, guys. What's another? Where should I put? Can I put that? Can I squeeze that one in down here? There we go. And maybe the Veli. Put that one right there. Yeah, I think so. Alrighty. There's my tunes. How about back here? Oh no, it's an ad. My name is Percy Jackson. No thanks, Percy Jackson. There we go. There we go. Classic live stream with the weird orientation. We're vertical because we had a guest, and the orientation that YouTube sets by default was unable to be changed, so that's just where we are. Some of the names are green because those are Knights of the Round. If you want to join my Knights of the Round membership program, you can find the link in the description to become a knight. It's $1.99 a month. You'll be supporting the channel and my knife habit, as well as supporting content. Because it's like I always say, if you want to know what I do with the funds from the channel, I buy knives and I turn it into content for you guys to enjoy. So if you want to be a part of that, you can. If not, my content will always be free. The bulk of my channel will always be free. You can also join Patreon, which is separate, and Patreon is also linked in the description. You can join for as low as $1 a month there, and you'll gain access to my private knife sales, which are heavily discounted, sometimes 50% off, and then also weekly content and monthly exclusive giveaways. So if you'd like to join my Patreon, that is down there as well. Cavity Search. Welcome back to the Knights of the Round. Got that purple helmet. Who would you guys prefer the next guest is? Now I am super motivated to have guests. The system that I used before, it turned me off so much. It wasn't talking with people, it was the system. Tell Sean I'll sell him my KNP Mini Tempest. All right. I will. Shabazz, that'll be the third time. Yeah, I'll mark that down in history. The time that Sean Ashmore called me Chris Pratt. That was a surreal moment. Greg Medford. I don't know that Greg would come on. Tri-State. I would have a chat with Rick Hinder. I don't know. I mean, that might be kind of difficult. You want to meet Mrs. MC? She'll come on again for sure. Advanced Knife Pro, I'd love to do one with Advanced Knife Pro. And Pete from Cedric and Ada, I feel like might. But I mean, that's weird because Pete's on the other side of the world, so that might be kind of difficult. I got to tell you guys a story. I drunk dialed Pete. I say drunk dialed. It was like I was like 6. I had like 6 or so, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call Pete on Instagram and see if he picks up, and he did. And Pete and I talked for half an hour. It was amazing. I wish that call was recorded. Oh man, you guys, if you watch Cedric and Ada, you should definitely leave a comment on his channel asking him about his weird call with me. Pete is such a nice guy. That was an amazing conversation. I just randomly was like, you know what? I know it's a different time in Australia, but I'm going to call it. Ben, for sure, from NAFS, obviously. Peterson, yeah. Zach Stuff, thank you for donation. Make sure you guys subscribe to Zach Stuff. I'm sure you already are, but if you're not, subscribe to Zach Stuff. Very cool. I would love to talk with Ben. He keeps asking if I'm going to go to a show, and I feel bad because I want to sit down and talk with Ben in person. Neves, I'm overdue for Neves. That would be an amazing. That would be a perfect one, of course. Well, I've got to talk with Neves. I can't believe I haven't. That's just irresponsible. That's irresponsible of me to not talk with Neves. Oh, Zach just gifted a bunch more. Thank you, Zach. Very kind. Zach in the wild for sure. He's tagged me in a bunch of posts, and Zach is so nice. I remember chatting with him when he was the guy, like the contact for Blade HQ, and he was super, unbelievably kind. It's always like amazing. You know, you meet so many people who are just abrasive and rough, like in life, and you forget that there are just incredibly nice people out there. And it's amazing how many awesome people there are in this community who are just willing to bend over backwards and just be excellent human beings for nothing. They don't want anything from you. They're just good people. Yeah, Neves I think Neves would be off there. I feel like I mean, the 2 times I talked with Nick Shabazz, that was nuts. And, Ray, the couple of times I've talked with Ray, if you go back far enough in either of our libraries, we've chatted many times from Everyday City Carry. I feel like Tri-State would be the same. Of course. The time where I messaged, thank you for that donation there, Son of Blade Center. What up, MC? I sent a super chat earlier, but you missed it. So here's a bigger one. You'll read it. It's got a GT Scout's freaking sick. Or are you going to get one? I'm thinking about it. It's funny you bring that up. I'm thinking about it. Thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. Who was a part of Tri-State's stream when he was just like streaming, and I messaged him and I said, I'm watching you in my garage, and I sent him a picture of me with my feet up watching his live stream on my TV in the garage. And he took that picture and put it on the stream, and then he did like a weird cutout. I think it was of me. And I told him I was grilling, and he did this animation where I was like, there was like a ketchup bottle or barbecue sauce bottle. It was so bizarre. I was laughing so hard. Oh my God. That was one of the weirdest, funniest live streams. It was just, he took this picture and made this whole thing out of it. It was awesome. You were there for that? So funny, man. That's what I want to learn how to do. I want to get StreamYard and learn how to do that because that was so entertaining. I'm glad you guys enjoy. It's so obvious that Sean is a dedicated knife guy. Sean's not a casual, man. He is an integrated professional knife nut. And so when you talk with somebody like that, you click and it really becomes this stimulating experience to talk with somebody who really gets it. And, you know, I'm around people like that all the time, but not in my everyday life. I got friends that they like knives, but they understand it down to a certain point. Sean has gone multiple levels below that. He is down here on that base level, not the base level, the top tier. But he's down here with it with everybody who has truly dedicated a chunk of their lives to this hobby, and so it's really fun to communicate with somebody like that. Birdshot would be great. I haven't talked to them a lot lately, but I enjoy them both, and I very much enjoy their content. I don't know how Birdshot doesn't have 500,000 subscribers. That just blows my mind. I don't know why the YouTube algorithm is treating them so poorly. It's stupid. YouTube is very unfair to certain creators. Birdshot has been around for so long, and is a severely underrated. I mean, they were a dedicated part of my content rotation, and still are. I regularly watch Birdshot's content at least once a week, and if YouTube doesn't recommend it to me, I seek it out. Be damned, YouTube's recommendation system. I will watch what I want to watch, and I will watch Birdshot, and you guys should too. I don't know why you wouldn't be subscribed. I'm sure you are, but. Patty's potato peelers. He's also a great guy. I can't think of anybody who I wouldn't. I'm trying to think of somebody who I wouldn't want to stream with. Is there anybody in this community I wouldn't get along with? In fact, challenge for the chat. Give me somebody you think I wouldn't get along with. Self-described friendliest knife YouTuber. I'm going to give myself that title. No, you don't remember that, Glock. Eric and I get along. We had a whole conversation. We talked. We went back and forth a little bit, and we're buds. You think I wouldn't get along with Erica? Eric and I are cool. Ask her. Go right now. You guys DM her on Instagram. Say, what do you think of Metal Complex? He has nothing but nice things to say about you. And I do. I mean that. No, don't say Saddam Hussein. Other knife content creators. You Nut and Fancy? I love Nut and Fancy. I doubt he knows who I am, though. Listen, I called out Joe X, but I would absolutely go live with him. And if you guys go to that video, I left a comment and I meant what I said. I said, you seem like an extremely intelligent person. And you know what? I'm sure that he is. And he's probably an excellent human being. And I would love to go live with him. Not at all to talk about that upload, but just to make friends. Oh, wait, is it Joe? You mean Marine X? I was talking about Marine X. Who's Joe X? I don't know about Joe X. I'm sorry. If Joe X is different, I was talking about Marine X. I would absolutely go live with Marine X. I didn't know he existed until recently, but he obviously has a large following. Not that really matters. It doesn't really matter, the follower count. But he's obviously interested in knives, and he and I have that in common, and so that's enough for me. I would go live with him and chat with him and hopefully make friends. The only people who I would not get along with are probably like diehard haters from Reddit. But I would do my best to make friends with them. I'm really not interested in putting anybody down for any reason. I've watched other content from Marine X and it looks excellent. His content is so good. It's so well produced. He's obviously got a bright future, and I wish him the best. There's one little hiccup there. It's fine. We all do. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend there's content I've created that I don't regret. I'm not saying he does. I'm not saying, whatever he thinks about that situation is his own business, right? I'm not telling him what his responsibilities are. I'm going to stay in my lane. And I've probably already crossed too far over, and for that, I apologize. He's got his own territory, and I think that's fine. The content that he creates, hold on, we got an ad here. Oh, this is intrusive. Shopify is intruding on my live stream.
What are you waiting for? Start your free trial.
Shut up. Thank you. Yeah, but anyways, he's got his own thing that he's doing, and I think that's great. But if he ever wanted to go live with me and just talk about whatever, I think that'd be really fun. Pretty much anybody who would make time to go live with me, I think that would be really a good time. The Dutch Bushcraft Boys, I think would be excellent. I'm not sure that they know who they don't. I'm not sure that they're aware that I exist, which is okay. I mean that I'm not. I wouldn't be insulted at all, but I think they would be like, "Who are you?" I've never really chatted with them. They seem like really funny guys, but I would love to go live with them. I just, that's up to you guys. If there's people you think, you can drop a little, you can drop something in their comments and suggest it, but I don't want to force anybody. If they find it interesting, if they think it would be fun, then sure. But I don't want them to feel like there's a reason for it. The reason to do it would just be for fun, to talk with other people in the community. I don't care. I don't care if they have 1 million subs or if they have 1,000 subs. I'm not motivated by that. I would literally like to talk with anybody you guys would find entertaining and another person who likes knives. Scott, for sure. If Scott would be willing to go live, I would absolutely talk with him. Brian from Slice and Dice is doing fine. He's doing great. Brian's happy. You need to pound 5 or 6 Gatorades and have your first three-way live with Neves and Trisate. That sounds destructive. Oh my gosh! But if listen, if YouTube would allow us to do 3 people at once on a live stream, would that not be the craziest combination? I think that would be, excuse me, that would be chaos. But that would be a really good time. That was an excellent comment, and thank you for paying me $5 to say that. Go live with patrons and then bring some of us in. That would also be chaos. The thing about having other YouTubers on is there's a little bit of um, mutually assured destruction. I'm not saying I don't trust you guys. I'm just saying, like, with other YouTube content creators, there's a certain boundary for conversation that I know that you know other content creators will follow certain rules that make it safe to converse. Some of you I know would be like, "Here's my chance to say the F word really loud." Knife monitors would be fun. I've never communicated with Grimsmo, but sure. My gun channel? I don't have a gun. What are you talking about? I don't have a gun channel. Do I own any firearms? Maybe. I kind of like to. That's kind of just like a thing that's. Yeah. But I'm not. That's not this type of channel. I got to be careful about that because YouTube is on the hair trigger. Sorry for the pun there, but also that's kind of more of a like a serious like just you know. Can you imagine just? I'm not paranoid, but imagine just going from creating content to suddenly having 300,000 subscribers. Um, I know that the vast majority of people on my channel are super cool, but you never know. So, yeah, I do. That's about it. I feel safe. the extent of my response to that, I guess. I've very rarely encountered somebody who I feel was mentally unstable. Um, Whoa, skater die going hard here. I have had a couple of comments that I felt like were a little bit unstable, so can't be too careful. Has your new Stitch replaced your arch nemesis as your favorite? No. The arch nemesis is still absolutely my favorite. I really I don't know that anything will ever replace that because imagine the combination of elements there. That's an extremely difficult to acquire knife by, in my opinion, organically. This was before this was a gift to me. I organically came to the conclusion that he was one of my favorite knife designers and knife creators ever. And then I got one gifted to me by my wife for our 5-year anniversary. Can you imagine the type of knife it would take to replace that status? On top of that, it's one of the most incredible looking knives ever. I mean, that's such a hard, like, that thing is on the throne. It is welded to the throne. It really is. That's a difficult knife to overtake, you know? Yeah, sentimental value is through the roof. It's funny that it's called the arch nemesis. It's almost like poetic. Knife collecting can absolutely be your friend and your enemy at the same time. You know, so it's funny that like the pinnacle knife in my collection is called the arch nemesis. Blessing and bane. Oh, I'm getting poetic there. Kind of reaching for things. Blessing and curse. The ultimate climactic pinnacle analogy there. Yeah, look up the arch nemesis. I have been very tempted by Protec custom knives. Hang on one sec. We have somebody at the doorbell. It's most likely kids. The kids in the neighborhood wanting to play. Give me a sec here, guys. I'll come back. Yeah. I mean, my kids aren't here, so I feel bad. A lot of them are always outside all the time, so. Which knife gets coleslaw the best? Ugh. God, I hate coleslaw. The Spyderco Matriarch 2 is such a special, weird knife. Your love for Spyderco has to go so far beyond cargo link advice and Starfield status update. Neil Knight, without spoiling anything, I am on a new quest. I've learned some things. and I am on. I'm searching for something, and I am currently on new game 4, and I will continue to progress the new game ranks. But yeah, I figured out something pretty bizarre about the game, and so now I am seeking it. Um, I'm very impressed with Bethesda's ability to recognize that transitioning between universes means that the outcome would yield different results. And wow, they really ran with that. Every new game that I transition gets a little bit weirder, and this most recent one is really bizarre. I am just so enthused by that. I will probably push that game to its limits. I can't say what I'm doing because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But yeah, I'm jumping universes, that's for sure. Zach stuff says we get live stream, we could talk everything Benchmade. Absolutely, Zach. I Zach, I can't believe after all these years. I mean, think about how long we've known each other, man. Like, of course, absolutely. I'm gonna try to set up periodically half-hour installments with other people in the community, other YouTube creators. Zach, for sure, man. Would love that. Maz, thanks for the memberships there. Very kind. Let me buy some too. Let me wait till his are done. I don't want to take away from his gift there. That was very nice. I will get the Django for sure. I don't want to waste anybody's time. We've already drawn for the knives. We're just hanging out right now. So if you're here waiting for the giveaway, it's over. I don't want to keep you here. But if you want to hang out, that's fine. If not, I'm sure there's other content creators live right now. Bees is probably live. Um, let's do uh, let's do 10 from me. Oh yeah, I can't believe I didn't mention this. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know. Here's 10 memberships from me. Congrats to the winners. Um, if you don't already know this, I know you guys, hundreds of you ask every month, like, when are you gonna do an updated knife collection? I did it. It is edited. It is smooth. It's got timestamps. I have 190 knives in my collection, and I did a very relaxing kind of kickback and just enjoy it sort of collection tour. You can watch it however you want. I've got each case is time stamped, so you guys can watch what you want to watch. That will be uploaded Sunday morning at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. It is an hour long, so if you want to kick back on a Sunday morning and watch it, that's coming up. The Nimble's coming. How's your Python? That's a great question. It's actually working itself out. That's great to hear that you had about 1,000 flips and it went away. Mine is actually working itself out. It's amazing. I would say it's about 25% better, maybe 25 to 30% better than it has been. So I have hope. I'm gonna keep messing with it. What are your teams? I only care about a few things. I do care about Royals baseball, but we haven't been very good. For college basketball, which is the only basketball I care about, the Jayhawks, and obviously for the NFL, I watch the Chiefs. I'm a very enthusiastic Kansas City Chiefs fan. I've always liked the Chiefs ever since I was a little kid. We just never got to enjoy this level before. We are on another level right now, and I am wow. This is a great time to be a Chiefs fan. We had a tough loss right away, um, but I can't say that the Lions weren't a good team. So You wait. People keep thinking they've got Patrick Mahomes figured out. People keep thinking they've got him figured out, and then you don't. The Bengals had to learn that the hard way last year. Uh, there's always something. There's always something else, and we got injuries, and that's plaguing us. But it's not the first time we've had to work through that. We gotta play expecting injuries. Everybody has to play expecting injuries. Just see what happens. Panthers. All right. Overland Park. Okay, cool. My neighbor's a Dallas Cowboys fan, so that's that's real fun. He's a really nice guy, though. David, come on. You can't deny the absolute insanity that the Chiefs have been delivering. Some of the best games some of the best games in history have been played in the last 3 years against the Chiefs. Some of the craziest highlights you've ever seen. And last year I had season tickets. I got to witness a lot of that. We had season tickets last year because I had a buddy who's had, I think I've said this before. I have a close friend who's had the same 6 seats for 28 years. He's on the 15-yard line, 13 rows up. Excellent, excellent seats. And I convinced him to sell me 2 seats for a season. And holy crap, I had the time of my life. Unreal. It was unbelievable. You didn't like Mahomes much until you watched The Quarterback on Netflix. Yeah, I didn't like. I didn't really have an opinion on the Vikings quarterback until I watched that. What's his name? God dang it, I'm brain farting now. Vikings quarterback. Gosh dang it, that guy. Who's Mr. Gosh dang it? I love him. Every time I see the Vikings now, I'm like, go Vikings. Kirk Cousins. Crap. God, I like Kirk Cousins a lot. I just really like him. He is freakishly talented. And people get on his wife. I mean, leave his wife alone. His wife was an athlete too, you know? Like you can't so she's got the same like aggressive like mentality as Patrick Mahomes. Why is that? Why do people get on her? I have no idea. But I mean, I also saw people coming down on like how ridiculously well paid he is. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you pay him? I mean, look at what he's done. The guy's clearly gifted. You know, we can say certain elements or certain situations are enigmatic. We can say that all we want, right? But they certain those enigmatic certain circumstances certainly seem to be commonplace, regardless of the opposition. So I think it's fair to say, use deductive reasoning, if you will. Patrick Mahomes is pretty miraculous. He's a pretty amazing athlete. Even if he does run like he runs the ball like Jack Sparrow, but well, he manages to get a first down in some pretty tight situations more often than you would think. He pulls that crap out of nowhere. I hold my breath. People close in on him, and I hold my breath, and he squeezes out. That guy must oil himself up. He must be all buttered up before the games, and he slips out of, and then he throws these wild like underarm passes, and then somehow they connect. I can only imagine the stress of the receivers, just like you know, and then he sidearms it to him out of nowhere, and It's so crazy, man. It's so stressful. Passes are absolutely stupid, man. I just can't believe that they land. Can you imagine the stress of being a receiver? It's got to be just, they must have to have therapy all the time. They're just in a constant panic. The whole team, for sure. Yeah, knife alive. Yeah, we've drawn already. The knife that's open was the final prize. Still, nobody's drawn that majestic $500 knife yet. 50-50 for the next. There's only 4 left, so it's 50-50. Somebody's going to draw. We do 2. Sorry, I'm explaining basic. Why can't I talk right now? Basic math to you guys. There's 4 knives left. We're going to draw 2 next live stream. So there's a 50% chance that somebody's going to get the $500 knife. I don't have any plans right now. I mean, my wife and kids are at my mother-in-law's house having lasagna, so they'll be back soon. And I figure I'll just sit here and do this live stream until then. So this is we've been going for 2 hours. There's no reason to stop now. I'll wait until she's back home. What's my opinion on full customs versus production? You have to be in a special headspace to buy a custom. You have to have traversed the majority of the production knife world and be ready for the next step. You also have to accept that custom knives come with custom personalities. If you want absolute perfection with your knives, unless you're dealing with the most prestigious custom knife makers and you somehow got on their books, you are going to have to be willing to pay for incredible handwork, but understanding that micro flaws are more likely to occur with some of those custom knives than ultra high-end productions. For example, if you pay $1,200 for a Schuh production knife, it will be flawless. You could pay $5,000 for a custom handmade knife, and it will be much more likely to have little corks because it was made by a human being. So you have to be prepared for that. You have to have a certain mentality. And if you don't have that, if your expectations are that the knife should be absolutely 100% without micro flaw, I'm not talking about things like detent lash or off-centered. Obviously, we should have those things. That should be present. I'm talking about looking at like if you're looking at really complicated inlay work. Obviously, if you're putting yourself in a position where there's more room for error and you're doing it a lot of this stuff by hand, then as the buyer, you should understand that this is very difficult and you're not going to see those types of flaws with simpler inlay work and done by machine, and where a lot of custom makers do machine work. So we see less of this now, but sometimes when you have a hand ground blade, there's a little bit of goofs, and it's microscopic, but it's somebody doing it by hand. So if you're not ready for that, you're not ready for custom knives. You have to be able to appreciate the essence of the work, the amount of effort, the amount of human effort that went into it. And you have to be willing to pay for that. And if you're not, then you should stick with production knives. You can get a perfect, beautiful production knife with exotic materials for under $1,000 nowadays. I would stick with custom makers who do a lot. They do partially handmade stuff and partially production. Listen, I'll give you a perfect example. Brian Nadeau. You're going to get that ultra laser precision machine effort, but you're also going to get the human element combined. So when you pay for something from Brian Nadeau through Sharp by Design that's custom, you're going to get perfection. That's what it's going to be. And I'm sure if he was listening right now, he would say, "Dude, do not put me up to that standard." but not that I know him personally, but yeah, that's the level of perfection you're going to get. Cyborg Customs. I'm gonna buy an amphibian. That's the only recurve I've ever wanted. That's the only recurve that I've ever thought is like, wow, that's cool. So yeah, I will get an amphibian, and I'm probably gonna buy Lucifer's. I've been trying to get a Ramlock Stitch forever, and I just can't get one. So my best shot right now is to buy Lucifer's. We talked about it. I think I'm gonna do it. Hoghouse is absolutely killing it. That's another great example. If you're gonna buy a mid-tech, semi-custom, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, your Hoghouse. A lot of people would say that's full production. A little bit more that goes into this, right? So you can't label it I don't know if you can label it a full-on custom. I don't know. I mean, it blurs the line, you know. The custom stitch is fully paid off. So thank you very much to my patrons for buying 40 of my knives. That's right. When you watch the collection video, the 100 knives, the 190 knives that are still in my collection, I'm down 40 to pay for that custom stitch. I sold 40 knives to pay for that custom stitch. Yeah, if you were a patron, you definitely were aware of all the knives I sold over the last few weeks. I sold a lot. A lot of people got really great deals on some of the knives were knives you could readily buy. They were just heavily discounted, and some of the knives were very rare, and they were also heavily discounted, which is a perk of being a patron. Sometimes I sell things that I just cannot afford to keep in my collection, and the best way to move it is to discount it dramatically. I will never, ever, ever try to profit on a knife, like charge more than retail for like through a patron. They're always massively discounted. Yeah, all my sales are Patreon only. That's the most sensible way to do it, because I have to fund the content. And it's just patrons. You can be a patron and never like have to buy anything. You can support the channel and just participate in the monthly giveaways. And you get the content, the free. It's just like updates, like behind the curtain updates. But if you do want to buy a knife, they'll be very discounted when they pop up. Best first hinderer, I would buy a skinny slicer, XM18 3.5 inch. Those are hard to come by, so the regular slicer is also good, and so is the spear point. A lot of the other grinds are very thick, though, so if you don't like that style of knife, it might not be for you. Actually, Glock Shooter has a good point. The Eclipse is probably the best design, and truthfully, the Jurassic is super underrated. The most ergonomic design is the Jurassic, but the Eclipse, for you know, the Eclipse is a more evolved form of the XM18, and that's how it was designed. I imagine the idea was for the Eclipse to eclipse the XM18, and it just didn't end up that way because the XM18's design is so unbelievably flagship potent that it's always going to be the most popular. All right, boys and girls. It's that time. This was the longest stream I've ever done. We broke a record on this channel. Longest live stream ever. It's been 2 hours and 5 minutes. This was fun. Expect more guests in the future. We're going to do that. I'm really happy you guys participated. This was a really fun stream. I feel like it went really well. Um, I'm just perpetually overjoyed to be doing this as a job. So I have to continue to say thank you to everybody who watches. It's really weird. I mean, I I still don't know that I can fully mentally accept that this is actually what I do for a living. So thank you so much for literally creating a dream come true for me. I appreciate each and every one of you more than you could possibly know. And I know this sounds like just typical BS YouTuber mushy nonsense, obligatory bullshit, but it's not. It's very real. So thank you guys. I hope you all have an excellent rest of your Friday evening and an excellent rest of your weekend. Bye.